Hi, and welcome to session 2 of Data 5070 Statistical Software Packages for Applied Data Analytics. I'm your teacher assistant, Ayush, and in this session, we will cover importing data in Rstudio, case study of the US cost dataset, introduction to dplyr for data management, and exploratory data analysis, or short for EDA. Right. So let's get started. And the first thing we will do is download the data set that we need today for today's case study. Right. So for that, we will go to kaggle.com. We go to Kaggle and I will put down the link, but just search US cost dataset. Here we are. Download it. And after you download, put it in your desktop or any folder which you would like to work from. Right. So moving to Rstudio, how should we get started? First and foremost, importing the data. So if you have imported the data, it's going to be a CSV file. We're going to first see our working directory and set our working directory. So first we desktop, right? And to set a directory to one of our files. So if, for example, I want to go to, this is, by the way, my desktop. I want to go to my desktop. There is a folder called TA5070. And under that folder, there's a week 2 folder. As you can see in the week 2 folder, that's where all my R files for this session and the US cars data set is. So what I'm going to do is click on more and set this as our working directory. And as we can see, it worked. Or the alternate way is you can write this down. You can write it and run it. And you can see our working directory is set to this folder, week 2, under the folder TA5070. Right. So importing the data. Now we want to import this US cost data set into Rstudio, and we can do this by creating an object called data and then using the read.csv command that is available in R. Right. So this is for a MacBook, and I'm sure in Windows it's different, and we can talk about that syntax later. We see desktop, my folder DA5070. Under that folder, there's another folder called week 2, and there lies the USA right. And now we run this, we can see the data object is available in R here. And to look for this data, you can click on this window here, and you can see our data here. Or so let's import our packages. So for this session, we are going to use, well, first, always the stats package, right? Then we want to use the dplyr. And similar to dplyr, we can also use some elements of tidyverse. And now we can run, and now we can see all the packages are in our Rstudio environment. So let's inspect the data. So we want to know how many rows and columns do we have. And to do that, we can use dimensions function, using the dimension functions, calling out data. We can see we have 2,499 rows and 13 columns. Right. One thing I forgot to do was attach the data set. So if you attach the data set, it helps us, or it helps R to know that this data is specifically attached. So you can call out variables within the data set without using the data name every time. Right, so let's get the summary statistics. That's pretty easy. We do summary of the data. And here we have the summary statistics. We have the mins, the max, the median, the means, and the quartiles for every variable in the data set. And to look at the structure of these variables, we can use the str function, through which we can see which variables are what objects. For example, color is a character because it's on qualitative data. And then you can inspect everything on your own. If you want to get the first 6 rows, we can use the head data function, and we get the first 6 rows in the data set. To get the last 6, we get the tail. Here we are, we have the last 6 rows of the data set. We can also customize the head and tails function to get as many rows as we want. So, example, we want 15 rows. So we can do head data n equals 15. Yeah, see, now we have the 15 rows of our USA cars data set. Right, already did this. Right, so now we want to know how many brands do we have in the data set? Not in total, how many unique brands do we have? And to do this, we can use the unique and use brand. So we can see we have Toyota, Ford, Dodge, Chevrolet, all the way to Ram, Maserati, and Peterbilt. And similarly, if you want to look at how many unique car models do we have, we can use the same unique function and call out the models variable. Oh, sorry. Model, there we are. All right, good going so far. So now we want to arrange our data set in descending order by price. And it's quite easy to do. So we will first call out the data that we are using and use the order function. And to use the order function, we're going to use the square brackets. We're going to call out the order function for what variable? Price. Put in a comma because that is part of our syntax. Now, if you run it, we can see it ran successfully, but instead of descending order, we got it in ascending order. So we can see price starts at 0 and goes up from 25 above. To do descending, we add a minus in front of price. Now we run it. See, so that's the code and it works. Now we can see Mercedes-Benz SL class 2017 model is the most expensive car at 84K. But as you can imagine, running the whole data set and investigating is quite redundant. So we can, on top of the order function, we can use the head function. We can do head. And we only get the top 6. And like last function, we can also do head of 15 ordered by price. Pretty neat. So now to look at any missing variables or missing data within these variables, first we need to check we want to check all the sum or all of the missing values, the sum in the data set. 0. So we have no missing values in the data set. And well, it is a great data set, but I can assure you in future there are going to be missing values, and we will also learn how to deal with these missing values in the next session. Right. So let's see, we want to get a data set, or we want to make a data set of the cheapest cars. Um, we can do this by using the filter function. So we can do, let's say, cheap data frame is, we want to filter data where price is less than 50,000. So we can see we created a data frame here, which is going to have all the cars which are below 50,000. Great. Similarly, we can use the same function to create a data set which only has cars made by Ford. So we can use the same filter function, call out the data we need, data where the model or the brand, where brand equals Ford. And we can see the head of the data set as well. There we are. So now we have a new data set called Ford cars, which only have cars made from Ford. And what I did here was, if you add a semicolon at the end of your code, it tells R that after this bracket, we close the code, and this is a new code, which is a useful function to remember if you're writing a lot of code and you don't want to clutter your console. Right. So, for example, now that you made a data set that only has Ford cars and you want to save this data set, we can use the write function. So we can use sorry, we can skip this one now. We can focus on saving data frames for the next one. Right. So if you want to order the Ford cars data set by price, we can use the same code really from over here and use the order function. So, but instead of data now, we need to call the Ford cars data set. Right. And now we have a lot of NA values. That's good to see. You can practice it. Right. So what if we want to create a data set that has Ford cars under 50,000, which is quite easy to do. So let's create Ford data frame under 50, right? So we can use the same filter function. We can filter data by brand equals Ford, and oops, sorry, and price is less than 50,000. We run that, and now we have a data set Ford DF under 50, which has all the Ford cars under 50,000. Right, so creating new variables. How do we create new variables in Rstudio? So for example, we have the prices here. Let's see. we have the price in US dollars, but we want to create a new variable that uh, has the prices in Canadian currency as well. We can do this by first calling out the variable we want to create. So for example, if we want to create a price in Canadian dollars, and it is as easy as simple multiplication. So we can do the same thing. We call out the data or the variable, that is price, multiplied by 1.28. That is the conversion rate today. So now we do that. And what it did was it created a variable called price, CAD, using the price in the data set multiplied by 1.28. And now if you look at the head of the data set, we can see price CAD is a new variable added to the end of our data with Canadian money. It's nice. Right. So now let's look at a little central tendency problems. Yeah. In this, we're going to create a new variable called, actually, you know what, we can just use the price that is already there. So let's make US price a new variable, which only has the variable price in it. So central tendency is computing it is quite important in statistics, and especially for this class, we're going to use many techniques later when we start our modeling. So for example, we want to get the minimum value in the price data set. Of course, you can do all of this by just using the summary command, but it is nice to know how you can do it manually. So minimum value, quite easy. You do minimum of the variable US price. We have minimum value 0. What's the maximum price? The maximum US price, 84,900. Right. Calculating the mean. We have mean of US price, 187.67. Right. Median. Mode we can skip for now. Right, so more statistics and just basic stats. How do we calculate measures of variability? So if you want to calculate the standard deviation of the price, we can do, sorry, not AD, SD of US price. We can see 12,116. The variance can be calculated by using the VAR function. US price. Great. And to get the quartiles, we can use the quantile function. Quantile of US price. There we are. Pretty nice. Right. So looking at all this code, I highly encourage you to do an exercise on your own so you can be more familiar with Rstudio. And as you can see, it is quite fun to work around with. And as many of you might know or not know, there are many data sets available to work with right inside R, and they are all available in the data package. And you can get more information by just typing in question mark and data. Press Command Enter. And here we can see we have descriptions of all these data sets that are available in the package. So, for example, if you run this, I should have done it. Data 2, let's see, and equals to economics. So data 2, as you can see, no download needed, is a pre-installed package where we have, and you can obviously use the question mark to look at economics. Right. So we can have a list of all the variables present. So we can see PCE, personal consumption expenditure, population, etc. So just look at it, and it's quick. You can attach it as we did before. And if you want to create a simple plot, we can just plot date with the population. And here we have our first plot. And after you're done with these 3 easy steps, you can just go back up and start doing these exercises from the top. And like I did. Great. And one last thing before we go, if you need any more help regarding basic functions and other statistics functions, we have a data 5070 manual up for RStudio. A link will be in the description, where you can go about getting started, all the data management code that we covered today, and you can see it's very well comprehensive, and you can also learn how to visualize data. But thank you for tuning in for so long, and hopefully this instruction video was helpful to you. Thank you very much, and I'll see you at V3 session. Goodbye.